I'm going to say something, Anthony, that is very unpopular. This game against the Broncos went exactly the way this team needed it to go.
It was exciting. I can tell you that much, Nick. You got everything that you wanted, a good performance from the defense. The offense got right down there to the end, and you still got your loss as a Commanders fan. Hit that intro.
Hail to the Commanders! It's the Commanders Squad. Everything Washington Commanders every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of the nation's capital. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Rally the burgundy and gold. The Commanders Squad Show starts now.
Of course, when a Sunday night game goes to overtime, that means it's late. It is well after midnight here on the East Coast. And as, of course, people either know if you're listening or watching this later or you're with us live now. Commanders fall 27-26, going for a 2-point conversion. In overtime, pass gets batted down for Marcus Mariota. Look, there is so much to unpack in this game. I got my smart glasses on tonight, Anthony. Don't worry. So I can look down upon people over them and say, I will judge you on some things you say. The eyes are tired. And I was just like, oh, you know what? You look better in the sunglasses than I look in the regular glasses. But this is just how it's going to go tonight.
That's because one of my kids sucker punched me in the eye, and this sucker has been hurting all day. I don't know if they scratched me, but they got me. It was like 6 a.m., and they were like, pow. And I was like, okay, I'm up. This is how we doing it today. But yeah,
that's a lot tougher than an alarm clock, to say the least.
But
we'll, of course, look at how we got to overtime here. A better defense from the Commanders. The football gods bestowing blessings upon them and keeping this game alive. Whether or not they should have gone for two late in the game, we'll look at that. Zach Ertz in the mostly good game, but a couple of really key drops in the fourth quarter and overtime in this as well. But, of course, we are brought to you by Game Time, and download the Game Time app and create an account to use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. I will say this, Anthony, again, with all the stuff that I mentioned, we now have, of all the great catches we've had with the number 13 in the burgundy and gold, we had an all-timer from Treylon Burks today, too. Your phone probably blew up with that, didn't it?
Man, I'm up here. I'm actually just trying to put my daughter down to go to bed, and then my phone like, zzz, did you see that catch by 13? Zzz. I'm like, man, what y'all about to wake the baby up, man? I need to put her down. So I go and look and see. I said, oh, Treylon Burks, behave. My God, that was a hell of a catch right there. You stick your hand out, and then it just sticks sometimes, man. And that was amazing. Hell of a catch. Great throw by Marcus Mariota, too. He put it in a place where only his guy could get it. And this is something that's very enlightening and exciting for the future, because you're like, okay, cool. Maybe you got something over there from a bigger receiver that you've been looking for. Maybe you can move on from some other guys, but great catch by Treylon Burks. Definitely put that at the top, maybe second overall of the number 13 catches.
Yeah, the Odell Beckham Jr. comparisons came very quickly on Twitter, and OBJ even had something to say about it too. Look, I'm going to say something here that I mentioned it briefly at the open, and I just, this is exactly where the Commanders needed this game to go, though. And I know it's this weird mentality that we've had to deal with for decades now with this organization. And we're, as somebody as me that's been a fan of this, it's different when you played. You weren't rooting for losses. You weren't sitting there going, I hope we get a better draft pick. Like, that doesn't work that way. But what I will say this, and I can tell you this from this side of the table, Anthony, I'm used to it. I've seen it. I'm not rooting against players, but you're rooting against, at times, worse draft picks that are there. And it's for this team now to come out of the bye week the way that they did, look much better and much stronger defensively, to hang with a Broncos team that ended up now, after winning this game, making it 9 wins in a row. The Denver Broncos are one of the hottest teams in the NFL, but this Commanders team hung with them the entire time. But they end up losing. Now, I know nobody likes to use the phrase good losses. This was a good loss for this team where they look stronger. They look like they still are going to compete the rest of the season. We want the arrow to be pointing up when the regular season is done. But losses for a team that's sitting here now, it was 3-8, and now it's 3-9. They're not going to make the playoffs. We need to stop playing that game for anybody that still is. They're not going to make the playoffs. It's about this team looking competitive, looking like the culture is still trending in the right direction. But most importantly, they've got better draft picks when this thing is all said and done, because this is still a rebuilding team.
This is one of those drafts that there's a lot of edge talent that's out there. And then you're starting to see some guys making some moves here late in the season, Jacob Martin being one of those guys. So, yeah, this loss is something that's going to help you get a little bit closer up, inside of that top 10, maybe 8, maybe top 7 or something like that. But, yeah, you're right. I will say when you come into this matchup, I'm looking for a spirited performance. I want to see these guys run around like, hey, you understand this is Sunday Night Football. I don't give a damn what your record is. Everybody and their mama is watching. You do not want to go up there and lay a goose egg on Sunday Night Football. So this was a great performance to see. Honestly, you saw the OGs. They made some big plays here or there. They also came up a little short here or there. But I love seeing Bobby Wagner get the interception. That was big to see. I love seeing Mariota take shots and push the ball down the field. I love the offense putting up 26 points and Terry McLaurin getting back on the field. So this is the thing that gets you a little bit excited, and this is what David was talking about.
Yeah.
Not saying, hey, well, why you would bring Jayden Daniels back into the fold, because you get to have everybody back on the field for once, and that's something that you can really look forward to. But I can tell you this. I am glad they ran with Chris Rodriguez. I'm glad he got that thing started. I'm glad he was running physical, and they gave him a lot of on the telecast talking about how when he's running the ball, it does good things for this offense. So hopefully this is something that you see finish out the season.
Yeah, listen, this offense looked like it had more players available for them, including Terry McLaurin. Like, it's amazing what having Terry McLaurin out there does for everybody else. It gets Zach Ertz more open, who, by the way, 13 targets for Zach Ertz in this game. 10 catches, 106 yards. Could have had a couple of more, including that potential touchdown in the end zone that was dropped. Of course, then Terry McLaurin scores the touchdown that gives him an opportunity to try. Terry was 796 and a touchdown. Like, 14 targets. We got a lot of it from him, especially in the second half there, where, it's we talked about this on the show leading up to this, right, last week. It's not just about the stats with Terry. It's also what he does and his potential for the things that he can do that makes a defense just have to respect him. It makes everybody else have more opportunities. That's why you can't have just one number one receiver. You got to have other guys then that can help take some of the attention off of him, but then he takes some of the attention off of Debo or Zach Ertz, whoever the case is. And listen, I understand that Zach Ertz has had an up and down season. There have been some drops. There have been some penalties. There's also been big moments. And it's very clear that a veteran of Marcus Mariota saw a veteran in Zach Ertz and knew he could get him the football, had the opportunities, he was open, which then later in the game, it's almost like we didn't see Terry for a while. I don't know if he was on a snap count, Anthony, or what was going on. He was blanketed at times too, maybe. It was quiet, and then all of a sudden, Terry just erupted in the fourth quarter and in overtime, and you get these other opportunities from him. So this is where the offense was supposed to be. So for anybody looking at this and like looking at this season as a whole and thinking it's nothing but a total disaster, if this team was more healthy and you had Terry McLaurin and Jayden Daniels, and listen, this offense would still be better with a healthy Jayden Daniels this entire season, but they still have some talent to build around on this roster. And I'm with you too with Chris Rodriguez. They established things early, established the run. They ended up running the ball 33 times for 143 yards. 55 of those were Marcus Mariota. But the offense is similar in the sense that Jayden Daniels would be putting up potentially similar numbers in that. So there's something there with this team. There's a lot of pieces that they have to add, but it's the reason why that I'm not panicked with everything that's gone on this year. This is where this team was supposed to be anyway. It's just identifying a lot of the places they got to fix things and also realizing you do have some pieces that you can still build around on this team that are more than just 1 or 2 year rentals.
You're 100% correct on that, Nick, in the fact that I think the team also understands they're just going through the suck of it. That's also something that Bobby Wagner mentioned, or they mentioned on the telecast, of saying, hey, we're going through a tough time right now, but going through this tough time together is going to be big. Being able to dig yourselves out of that hole, even, whatever this record ends up being at the end of the year, at best, 8 and 9, and then, at worst, 3 and 14. Oh Lord, I don't want it to be that, but whatever the record ends up being, like it's all about that on-field performance. It's all about seeing the guys that you're going to be able to identify who's going to be on this team moving forward. And I would truly say, this is a performance that makes me feel confident going into the offseason. I know it's still a few games away, but it's like, okay, cool. Y'all done this thing over the past couple of weeks. The Denver team is one where you don't. That's a top talented team. That's the team that's going to go to the playoffs or leading the AFC West. the Chiefs may be gone, right? And the Broncos are stepping
Yeah.
in. I mean, they're a young team, got Bo Nix, and they got a lot of good things going for them. And you took them all the way down to the wire. Hell, you took them into overtime. So that's big. That's a big performance right there, especially coming off of the Detroit thing a few weeks ago. You didn't know what you had. So this is a night and day difference. If the season started now, man, we'd be thinking a whole different mindset, Nick. We'd be thinking, all right, cool. We're going to have, a pretty good year right now with this team. We would have started the season with this type of energy. Man, we'd be in a whole different space right now.
It's funny. I'm looking through a lot of the comments here on YouTube, and, between like Richard here talking about how he's, Jordan McGee, but also pushing Denver to the limit. Bet Boy Tony was a really good game, and everyone was gassed. Like I'm noticing in the past after a lot of these losses. Now, again, they were ass whoopings that we've seen going back for the last 6 games for the most part. I mean, Miami was different, but, in Madrid. But for the most part, you and I and David Harrison will be jumping on with us later, obviously, after he finishes all of his locker room responsibilities. But, like, you look at the way that these games have gone pre-bye week, and they looked like they weren't an NFL team. They looked like nobody wanted to be there. It was when all of the Dan Snyder era whispers started up again. But in reality, this team got a couple of things happen. One, they got to clear their head. You go to Madrid, you're out of your routine. I know they lost, but the defense looked better. Why? Dan Quinn was in charge. Dan Quinn in charge again. This defense, I know they gave up 27 points, but they battled in this game. This undermanned defense battled. Will Harris being back was certainly a major help for this team. Bobby Wagner's interception, I know he still got beat at times in coverage, and it's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. But, like, they at least battled with what they have. You add on top of that the moments on offense. Deebo Samuel got some more opportunities, 5 catches for 64 yards in this. I mentioned Terry. I mentioned Zach Ertz. Like, they've got at least a little bit more. They added a few pieces either by Terry just by himself being out there or, all then, again, like I mentioned, opening up other guys offensively as well. Like, there were things in this game that you watch and you go, it looked really bad for about a month and a half, but it's not as bad as what it actually was. But again, I can't blame anybody for being disgusted and wanting to stick their finger down their throat and throw up in the toilet after watching games against Seattle and Kansas City. And let's go down the list of all these games that have happened. But the reality is there's a little bit of a reset here from this team. I can see it. I can see at least this desire to want to battle the rest of the season. Yeah. But unfortunately at 3-9, we're in a spot where, let's just be honest here, we're rooting for losses. We're rooting for good losses. We're rooting for close games. We're rooting for this culture to be about, hey, next year's going to be a lot better as long as we have more depth and we're a lot more healthy.
And you're getting the experience too. You're getting the experience for those young fellas. I would love to see, a young guy kind of step up over these last couple of weeks. I think I've said that before, but you're still having to lean on these OGs to kind of get some things done in the offense. But one thing I saw that was really interesting, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but this offense seemed to be so much more creative with Terry in the lineup. And it makes me wonder, it's like, damn, like, was that much of the offense, really circulated around Terry being involved in it? And then with him not being in there, then, like they just weren't going to run those plays. It just makes me wonder. So it was interesting, and I'm happy to see how creative they were out there. I'm happy to see the shots down the field that showed up. It's just, like I said, it's reassuring. It makes me feel pretty good. I don't know. I just don't know how much more you have to add to the squad, right? I think we still have the same questions as before, right? Edge and, some other help here in a few other spaces. But right now, man, I don't know who I have to circulate or who I have to circle on my draft board to go off and get. I don't know who is the free agent to go off and get, but everybody in the building right now has to put a performance together that's going to showcase that they need to be around and bring some value to the squad.
Yeah, and again, that gives a reason. Again, this is why I always say, like, players don't tank, right? Organizations might try in their own way of playing young guys or whatever the situation is. But in reality, you've got a lot of opportunity for younger guys now with still plenty of injuries on this roster to say, this is my chance. It's my chance to go out there and show that whether it's here in Washington or it's somewhere else, I'm going to make a point to show that I belong in this league. And those are how you get these competitive games late in the season. These are how you get the games where Washington sneaks up on somebody. We're now, heading into this. I'm sure, let's be honest, you don't think Denver was looking at this going, okay, like we've won 8 straight. We're going into this team. They're beat up. It's a backup quarterback. I am not going to factor out the chance that Denver overlooked this Commanders team a little bit and then went, oh, damn, okay, like maybe we need to take them a little bit more
I
serious.
don't know. I
So
don't know about all of that, though, Nick. I don't know.
You don't think that Denver overlooked them at all?
I don't think so because they've played close games I think they didn't want to overlook themselves. Like they just know they have to play their own game. You know what I mean? Like Denver focuses on them doing it themselves. And if you come in here BSing around, you'll get beat. That's probably more of the message that Sean Payton was given. Because when you're getting Terry McLaurin back, it made them want to get Pat Surtain back. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like you had to respect that. It wasn't like they were saying, "Oh, we don't need our best cornerback, even though he's healthy. We're going to go out there without him." No, they knew that they needed to get him back out there. So, hell, this is I'm saying this is good that Washington was able to push this team like this. I don't think that anybody's coming in thinking that Washington's going to be a pushover. I think people understand that Washington is undermanned. Washington hasn't had all of their people out there. And once you see recent history of teams getting rolling with good performances, even if they come with losses, Nick, teams know that this team is going to show up fired up. So the last, 5-6 games we got this year, they're going to be good fights for this team. They're going to be physical matchups.
All right. One of the key differences in this game wasn't just Terry McLaurin and his return, but something very specific that this team has struggled with throughout the entire season. We'll look at that next here on Commander Squad. And we're brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you're going to win. It's like really, really simple, actually. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup. You can play anywhere Prize Picks operates. That includes California, Texas, and Georgia, for those of you in case you're interested. And Prize Picks is something I've dabbled in for a long time, and it's simple, it's easy, and it kind of gives you a little something extra in a game. Maybe you're not that interested in a game you're watching, but there's a couple of players you're interested in specifically. That's the direction that you want to go. And you can download the Prize Picks app and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So I keep the stats, Anthony.
Yeah.
And
first quarter stats.
I pay attention to that first quarter, and I will tell you,
Yeah.
One, it was very uneventful for the most part, but here's the key here. Washington wins time of possession in the first quarter, 8:49 to 6:11. First downs, 6-4. Total yards, 70 to 65. Again, none of these are like numbers that pop out, but there is something that did stand out to me early in this game, and it was that the Broncos, and they continue to do this a lot throughout the game, they had long drives. A lot of plays, 10, 11, 12 plays, eating up clock, but they were ending in field goals early in this game when the defense was more fresh, when not everybody was gassed late in this game. And that was really a big sign to me. And I'm seeing, again, a lot in the comments here, a lot of people talking about the defense looking better. Like, we're not screaming about Joe Witt anymore, which is great, because I got really tired of that being a topic for a while. But now it's about Dan Quinn's defense. And we're starting to see, even with the limited resources that they have, that you're getting a defense that looks much more disciplined. Guys just look like they're in better position. It just looks like a defense that, quite frankly, Anthony, looks like it just belongs out on an NFL field.
The one thing I go all the way back to when Dan Quinn was first hired. You have to look at basically his first press conference. And he was asked about how does he address the different personalities and learning types of his players. He says, I meet my players where they are and teach them how they learn best. Basically, if there's a guy that needs to see it on the field, he's going to be working with that guy on the field to get the reps. If it's the film room, he'll do that. My interpretation is that since Dan Quinn has taken over the defense, he has done a much better job of communicating what he wants to get from his team and communicating what to expect and see. Are you just like you're saying, Nick? You saw much more disciplined, deliberate. They knew what they were seeing. I remember Tony Sperano would always say, "No and no, you know." they knew what they were seeing. They knew what they were doing. They were in position to make plays. Like, people are going to make catches in the league because that's what you do. Traylon Burks had a hell of a catch, but then they're also going to go and say, Riley Moss, there's nothing else that you can do other than be blessed with another 6-7 inches in height. Like, that's just how the league goes right now. So, looking at the way Dan Quinn has this defense performing just makes me feel like he was able to connect with them different and was able to communicate it differently and get that message across. And they're responding. It's really good to see. I'm glad that they're responding, because we do not want to go out the end of the year with a fumbling, stumbling defense.
No. And listen, they still have issues getting to the quarterback, but we saw a couple moments where they did. I mean, Frankie Louvu got that sack in the fourth quarter when it was 2017, I think, at that point. So you had a couple of moments where they disrupted Bo Nix. Also, give Bo Nix credit, because that one touchdown pass where his knee was just an inch or so above the ground. I mean, they got after him, and he was just able to get that throw off. And sometimes that's going to be the case, but being able to see this defense just, again, it's just limited resources they're working with. I get it. They pass rush is a big thing they've got to address this offseason. But just seeing at least some of these moments where you're at least, like, I want to see more of the last year Frankie Louvu. I want to see more of the last year Bobby Wagner. And I get some of that. Maybe I'm just asking for more, and you're not going to beat Father Time, at least if it's Bobby Wagner. But you're just, you have a defense that has the capability of at least not being the worst defense in the history of the NFL, which now is kind of going towards, well, the Bengals before this past weekend. So it's like this weird thing, where we're looking at week by week, and it's like, well, the Bengals were actually on pace to be the worst defense in NFL history. Well, we saw what they just did. So, like, week by week, things can change. Sometimes it's matchups. Sometimes it's a change in scheme. Sometimes it's a change in philosophy for individual players, whatever the case is. But it is a really promising thing to see, at least for the short term. It's a Band-Aid for the rest of the season and how this defense looks. But then the question becomes, like, what does this offseason look like for them? Does the defensive coordinator switch that everybody wants actually happen, but Dan Quinn still calls the plays? Does he bring in somebody else that, like, just kind of fills the gaps, but he's not calling the plays defensively? Does Dan Quinn keep Joe Witt but still call? Like, these are the types of things that I know we're not going to have answered now, but it's something you got to start thinking about, because it's clearly a better defense with Dan Quinn in charge of it.
Yeah, I think that finding a way to get the best, to field the best, get the best team on the field the best roster, all of those things, the coaching comes in to be a part of that, right? Who is calling the plays has to be a part of that, and you have to take that into consideration, because whatever happened in 2024 going into 2025, something changed, wasn't working. That's why you had to make that switch. So I do think that they must work. They work well together, Joe Witt and Dan Quinn. So they work well together. So it feels like it makes sense for them to stay linked up, but then it's just going to come down to semantics of who's calling plays and who's going to get to lead that charge. But I feel like the way this thing is built, you would want to keep as many people together as possible. And quick mention to Tavita Pritchard, congratulations on the head coaching job out there in Stanford. That's big. Go out there back to where he came from and gets to lead that charge. But to be able to keep as many people together as possible is going to help grow this thing, right? To go and try to change voices on the defensive side, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Doesn't really work for me. I think it has to be Dan Quinn, and then just find a way to get other better players around there. But to me, is really figuring out everybody in the building, right? There's not a lot of answers outside. That's my thing. I don't think that it's like, oh, there's a second round talent kid that we're looking for. I don't think there's a lot of answers in the college ranks or on somebody else's roster that's really just going to, flip this thing and turn it all around. It's just all about being healthy first and foremost, because this isn't even a fully healthy squad. And I'm looking at the stats. Washington had more yards. They were even on turnovers, more first downs, basically even on penalties and yards. They had one more third down, 3-3 on fourth downs. They went 3-5 in the red zone. They won time of possession. This was a great performance. The only thing they didn't do is get the W. So it lets me know they just need to get their people healthy, and then you're going to have a much better team. It's not a whole roster overhaul. It's not a tear this thing down or rebuild it back up. It's very, very small changes, very small key additions, and then I think you're going to get a much, much better season next year.
All right. David's going to join us in a little bit, but I want to look at Terry McLaurin's return a little more specifically with you. And I know you haven't had a chance to look at the all 22 really and like really get into the film. So this is sort of a reaction right after the game here. We've looked a lot at the defense. We mentioned Terry in this offense a bit at the beginning, but like 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. You texted us in our group chat kind of at, I guess it was, I want to say it was probably early fourth quarter at that point. I go back and look at the timestamp. I've got the receipts in case you're wondering. But the question really was like, okay, where is Terry right now? And he was relatively quiet for a lot of this game. In fact, in the first half, he only had 2 targets, 1 catch, 11 yards. So really quiet first half. And I don't know, and maybe David can answer this question when he jumps on with us after everything. I don't know whether he was on a snap count for a while, if it was just a matter of like getting a breather because he hasn't played in weeks and there's a football shape mentality that's also got to get in there. But he blew up in that fourth quarter and in overtime. Obviously, the touchdown that would have been the game tie, and had they gone for the extra point as opposed, So you look at where Terry was when it's all said and done. You're a receiver. You understand the position very well. What did you see? Instant reaction, obviously, here from Terry McLaurin just in this return and what it meant to this offense.
Like I said earlier, you saw a lot of creativity. You saw an offense that they were doing some things that we hadn't seen in weeks. It felt good to see them take shots going deep, and you felt that you knew that there was just a trust factor in that Terry McLaurin was going to come down with the football. Having that confidence in your receiving core makes the quarterback position be that much better. We've seen previous weeks where they didn't have anybody. They didn't even have Debo. And it gets very difficult to go up there and try to line up. So to have Terry out there, yeah, you're going to say, oh, he was getting locked up by Pat Surtain. That dude there is all pro. He's probably the best corner in the league. So, like, I don't want to hear it, right? Terry drawing that matchup all day, that's respect. That's how it should have been. If they wasn't following him all day, then that's disrespectful. That's something where you got to question. But no, he followed them all day. So there's going to be some exchanges, some wins, and some back and forth there. You saw him slip a couple of times, and I think whenever I texted y'all, it was like maybe later in the fourth. It just felt like it was a key couple of drives, and I'm like, where's Terry at on these plays? And then you kind of maybe they were just rotating him in. You're coming off of that quad, and they were trying to be very cautious behind how they're going to utilize him. You know what I mean? So, what do you say, Bet Boy Cliff did better tonight? Probably because he had Terry. Hey. So that's what happened when you had your top dog. I mean, like, seriously though, Bet Boy, you think about it. If they don't have a receiver out there that they're scared of, they just going to play press man all day. They just going to get up there and disrespect you and say, you're not going to get open on us. We don't believe you. We don't believe you. We don't think you can do that. Now you put somebody out there that they got to respect. So then now they have to bring the safety over there to pay attention to him, which then, like Nick was saying, it leaves Ertz one-on-one. It leaves Debo one-on-one. It leaves more favorable matchups. So his presence alone is felt. Terry did what Terry did, right? We got to stop thinking that Terry is going to have 13 catches for 150 yards. He's not having Justin Jefferson numbers. That's not what he does.
Although Justin Jefferson numbers might not even exist anymore in that offense.
That is true, man. That quarterback, when I was like, who is this quarterback from Minnesota, man? Giving a little Aaron Rodgers vibe, man. Young fella getting his first start. Rough start, but he got it. But yeah, Terry's one of those guys who's going to quietly get his and then all of a sudden make a big play. And that's what he did for the squad tonight. Scored twice in the last 20 seconds of the game. Only one of them counted, though. So,
yeah, it's I think you might have frozen a little there, Anthony. So we'll work on that as we can here. But yeah, like oh, there you are. You're back. All right. Yeah, it was you froze. Listen, you froze with a smile on your face, so that's what matters the most. It was there, but yeah, I think that this is one of the it's one of the things where it's not always just about the box score. It's not just the 7 for 96 and a touchdown, but it's all of the other things that open up this offense with Terry McLaurin back out there. Now, granted, we know he can make these spectacular sideline catches. We know he can go up with double teams and make contested play. Like, these are the things he's done his entire career, and he's done it with a lot of quarterbacks throwing him the football in a lot of different ways. But when you look at this, I mean, Zach Ertz and Terry McLaurin alone, that's 27 targets for those two guys in this game. Now, I understand that Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner are the two of the vets that have been lightning rods for criticism this year. And a lot of it is deserved, without question. But I guarantee you that Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner will both agree with a lot of the criticism that they've gotten, whether it's coverage or it's penalties or whatever the case is. Drops. We saw a couple of big drops from Zach Ertz tonight. He was also clearly exhausted and just went up and just couldn't pull in what would have been the touchdown before the Terry McLaurin touchdown in overtime. Listen, Zach Ertz came out for 10 for 106 and 13 targets. I mean, this offense now looks much more opened up, and is also seeing more from Debo in this sense too. 5 for 64. And again, like you're starting going down the list a little bit. You're not going to get major contributions in the passing game as this roster is they're still hurting wide receiver. They still, even if they were fully healthy, they still could use some help at wide receiver. But I mean, there's no Luke McCaffrey, there's no Noah Brown, and we haven't seen him at all this year. I mean, Treylon Burks made that spectacular catch. I would love to see Treylon Burks be a guy that they sort of pick up after not making it in Tennessee and getting an opportunity here. And maybe this is that chance that he needs, where sometimes it's a fresh start and not being the guy that replaces A.J. Brown if you're Treylon Burks. But there are pieces on this offense that if it's healthy and you start adding a little bit more this offseason, and maybe it's another guy that's a major, maybe Debo's not back next year, his contract is up, and there's somebody else that's kind of the number 2 next to Terry. Like, there are pieces in this offense that when they are healthy tell you, like, they got something here. And we saw it last year, and we saw flashes of it early this year, but they just really haven't had everybody out there. It comes, and it starts all the way back in training camp with Terry McLaurin and then the shuffling of the offensive line. But it does kind of feel like now the offensive line is relatively set with what it's going to look like. That Josh Connerly penalty, though, I mean, that was brutal in overtime. And I felt bad for the kid. I'm glad that wasn't what ruined the game. But like, those are the types of little things that you cannot have. And when you have, a rookie that's getting major snaps and major playing time out there, like, you can't have that in these crucial moments. You hope that that's something that he learns from. But those are the little things that we've seen a lot from this team this year. It's the brain farts. You can't have the brain farts, especially when your team is dealing with all of the injuries that every little detail matters that much more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are guys that aren't generally in those situations. Like when we go do practice and it's like end of game situations, it's ones on ones, right? It's ones on ones. It's Jayden, Terry, Debo, Zach Ertz going against, at the time would have been Lattimore, Sanders, whomever. The top people are going against the top players. Now you're having to see, the second and the third and the fourth string try to step in and do some of these things. It can be some operational failures in there, some little technicalities. When you were going through these receiving stats, Nick, I was looking at, how many people got targeted. And frankly, most of the heavy lifting went through Ertz and Terry. But a lot of times when Jayden was quarterbacking, it'd be like 7 different receivers would have like 2 or 3 receptions. So now seeing, Ertz and Terry do a lot of the heavy lifting, I wonder if that's just a quarterback thing. Obviously, I mean, you don't have everybody at full disposal, but it's just interesting to see where the ball goes. When the play calling is different, whoever's under center is different, because like we hadn't seen that type of a performance, from a tight end and receiver combo, especially Ertz and Terry. So it's interesting to see. Now y'all really got me intrigued if JD5 is going to be under center next week. You think he should get out there now?
You, my friend, are setting up a perfect tease here. At 3-9, should Jayden Daniels play at all the rest of the season? We will look at that next here on Commander Squad. You got to love when you work with a professional, right? The World Cup is also coming to North America. That's professional soccer, in case you're wondering. For the first time since 1994, it's going to be on American soil. 48 teams for the first time. It's going to be massive. This is a huge World Cup, and let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. A friend of mine, I played soccer with him growing up. We've looked, and the tickets ain't cheap. I'm just going to let you know that. But the Game Time app is clutch, and it's finally given fans a real advantage when it comes to actually snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time. You can get alerts when great seats open. You can buy tickets in the moment that they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands, and that's the key there. It makes going to the World Cup actually realistic instead of impossible. You just pull up the app. The layout's also like really simple, which is good. You don't want all these complicated apps. You're not scrolling through a bunch of extra stuff. You go right to the matchups. You compare seat views. You can pick a game. You can tap on a section. You can actually have your seats locked within minutes. It's not a lot of confusion. You're not hunting for all like the fine print. There's none of that with them. You're taking the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets, and every match, concert, or event is all with Game Time. that's where you can go. You can download the app. You can create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game time. You know, it's a simple question. Anthony Armstrong, Nick Asher, David Harrison going to join us soon from the field, though it's not actually going to be the field, as he said. It's freezing, and I don't blame him. I can hear the wind outside. If you're not listening or watching this live, it is very late here on the East Coast, and it is very cold and windy, and that's for sure. Listen, this team is 3-9. I am going to triple down, Anthony, on this. Marcus Mariota the rest of the way. I don't want until the only caveat I will say is if you want to give him a couple division games late in the season, I could maybe buy in on that. Now, I get it. I understand football's physical. I understand guys can get hurt, but it's a lot different when your young franchise quarterback is getting hurt in meaningful games in a season versus a season that you are not making the playoffs. I cannot stress enough how unimportant these games are going to be other than for development for him. But in reality, if it's development with still an injury-depleted roster, which it's going to be, how much of that development is it versus the same situation if he were to play a preseason game with a bunch of backups that are out there too? It's kind of a similar thing, except guys maybe going a little bit faster, trying to pop. He's been injured 3 times this year. I get it. Fine. There's scars. I don't care. I'll admit it. Maybe I need to seek therapy for this. I will deal with it. The reality is the scars are there with this fan base and everybody else that's seen it. And within the organization, the front office isn't dumb. Ownership isn't dumb. They know what's happened here. This is something that if Jayden Daniels goes out there and this team is 4-12, and he's starting the last couple of games of the season, and God forbid he gets hurt again, can you imagine what that's going to do to this organization, what that's going to do to him and his mindset, all that? And I get it. He wants to play good. Sometimes you got to protect players from themselves, Anthony.
Yeah, if I could tell you what, have you seen how mad Ole Miss fans were at Lane Kiffin when he walked to that airplane down there in Oxford? That's how mad they would be at Dan Quinn if something were to happen to their star quarterback in these last couple games. Looking at the schedule, the Commanders are headed up there to Minnesota. Then they have a game against the Giants on the 14th. Then they got the Eagles. Then they got Dallas on Christmas. And then they finish up at the Eagles. Okay, so those games, you're looking at a hellified pass rush, and you got a Dallas team that's really getting heated up. And I've been on that whole leave Jayden right here on the shelf train. And I still hang out in that space. But I will say, personally, for the sake of being able to see the guy, the game against the Eagles on the 20th and the game against Dallas on the 25th, I would say it'd be cool to run him out there. Just a couple of reasons. One, I'm not putting him on the field against the Giants at MetLife Stadium. I don't care. I ain't doing it.
Not on that field. Whoa.
Not on that sorry-ass turf. Can't do it, won't do it. Call me Mike Singletary. Not doing it. So not going to play him over there. So he gets to go against the Eagles, and he gets to go against the Cowboys, and then maybe against the Eagles again. But I would say if you're going to bring him back, it would be on those two. I needed to have everybody be on full tilt. I wouldn't want to go out there with missing anything out of the chamber, right? I need all full everything. I need to have everything tuned up, ready to rock. And the biggest reason, and this is what other folks say, it's a long time until they play ball again. So I'm going to be all the way until like late July, and I'm not even counting OTAs. But I'm like, before they get back into training camp, it could take a while. So to get to see what it could look like, especially coming off of this 26 points, I'm like, oh, maybe if you did add 5 in there, maybe you're looking at a 35-point game. You know what I mean?
On me? Hold on.
I'm kind of swaying. But
I'm on the same page.
No, I'm gonna tell you. I'm still saying you got to stay on the shelf. But if you're gonna do it, everything has a line. Everything has a line. You can't go out there and limp and just say, well, maybe we're gonna. You need to tell me that I got all my people back. Everybody's up. Everybody's healthy. This is how we're gonna do it. Protected with the play call, and like it just has to be something that, like, the damn ref pulled his calf today. You get what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I was like, the ref pulled his calf, guys. Like, I'm one side, I'm scared to put him out there. But the other side, I could see why you would want to play him a little bit, but I'm still saying nah, man. Let's hang out. You can hang out, watch the game with me, JD, man. Just don't worry about it, bro.
And listen, I see like Bet Boy saying, you don't want to piss him off. Like, okay, he'll be fine. Like Jayden Daniels, he's an adult.
He ain't
He's
gonna
mature.
quit.
Like
He's gonna be
yeah,
back
what's he gonna
next
do? He's not
year.
gonna go anywhere. Like I understand that you want to keep your stars happy, but you also want to keep them healthy. And the one thing that we've seen in the past is guys rushing back or guys being put in position where it's meaningless at the end of the season. I understand that reps mean something. I understand the other side of this argument. I really do. But I also understand what this season has been for this team and what's been for just the culture and the morale. And quite frankly, what I'm worried of what it's going to do to him mentally if he were to get hurt again. Like, seriously, because the RG3 comparisons have been thrown around a lot to the point where his mom's actually got to come out and say, hey, stop it. Don't put that on him. And I'm tired of RG3 inserting himself into the conversation when nobody actually invited him to the chat. But the reality is he's still doing it anyway. But I don't even want, like, I get, like, this is football. This is football. We can throw around those tough guy phrases all the time. But there's also, this is a business. Like, let's not pretend for a second that this isn't a business and that the narrative and the PR around all of that, it matters. And let's not forget how Dan Quinn was eviscerated for keeping Jayden Daniels out there in that game against Seattle where he got hurt and where he was not getting protection and he had nobody open downfield and he was running for his life. And for the first time I have seen from Jayden Daniels, true frustration. He was not happy. He wasn't smiling after mistakes. He's slamming the ball down. And it looked like he played frustrated and out of his head in that game. And I don't want to see late in the season another situation like that where he's generating, he's creating bad habits or he's forcing things and he's making plays because he's a competitor and it ends up resulting in something that has far worse consequences. Like, listen, if a guy's going to get hurt, I would much rather it be when the season is still alive than when it's absolutely meaningless, because I promise you this organization is worried about and does not want to deal with why was he out there when your team is 4-12 and the season is completely lost.
Yeah, I will say this. If you want to get the L's, if you want to give yourself the best chance to lose, you don't want the guy to play. I mean, we call a spade a spade. But it's just that the health thing. If it wasn't, and I hate being so damn superstitious about it, but if it wasn't one of them wonky ass years where everybody and their mama has found themselves injured, then that'd be the one where I'm like, man, it's football. Get him out there. Let's go ahead and run out there and let's just go play ball. But it's been a long time since you've had something nice at the quarterback position. You know what I mean? It's been a while, and that's why Nick is being extra cautious about it. That's why I'm being a little extra cautious about it, because like you really don't. You gain the chemistry. You gain the ability to say, "Hey, man, look at how we finished. Good for us." But it's still gonna be 8 months until you play again. So it's like maybe we just have to say, "Hey, let's all link up." And I say we, meaning the receivers and the quarterbacks and the offense, they link up in the off season and then just build your continuity all off season that way. Maybe that's what it is. You got to do it behind the scenes before you actually get to bring it onto the field. So, it's going to be a hell of a question for Dan Quinn. I'd be interested to see, what David has to hear, what he has to say from what he's heard from these folks. But I don't know, man. Jayden's a talented player, and you always want to have your best people on the field. But like you saying, man, you kind of want to protect your investment. You kind of want to make sure, okay, hey, let's get into 2026, right? I don't want to fumble anything late in the year and then sacrifice the first part of 2026. If you know what I'm saying.
You know what's funny? You said a key word there that really stood out to me, and it's superstitious, and that's just another way of addressing the mental side of all this. Is it? That's absolutely a factor in the way I feel about this. Clearly, the way you feel about this, it's true because of what you've seen this year where stuff doesn't make sense. And you're watching where you go, we have nobody left on this roster. Like, it's gotten to that point where where there's these unexplainable things that happen in sports. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. And it's felt like somebody's got a voodoo doll that's got a Commanders logo on it, and they're just taking pins and they're stabbing the damn thing in all the different parts of their body to where they just felt like there has been nobody left to play football for them this year. So yeah, if there was a normal year where they were relatively healthy and it just felt like the injury bug hadn't hit them, listen, teams get cursed by the injury bug. We watched for years the 49ers stay relatively healthy, and they've gotten decimated by injuries over the last couple of seasons, though they've survived it more this year than they did last year. We've watched the Ravens deal with that. And like, you get to a point where you just go, this is unexplainable. I just don't even want to put somebody out there. But there's a difference between what they should do and what they will do. If I'm a betting man, and I am, they're putting him out there at the end of the season. Maybe it's only the last 2 games. Maybe it's the last 3, whatever the case is, although we don't want him in MetLife, as we pointed out. He's going to end up playing late in this season. I can guarantee that that's going to be the case. He's going to be more than enough healthy. He's going to be 100%, probably 110%, the standard now in sports, as you know. But, like, I know what we're going to see him on the field again, and I'm going to be a nervous wreck, and I'll fully admit it, that I'm going to be a nervous wreck every single play.
Yeah, that first week, I mean, hell, he play next week against the Vikings. You know, at least that's inside, and you know, it's good.
Not against that pass rush, please. No, Brian Flores will just, he'll tee up on him. I don't want to see that, man.
I don't know. Shoot, who knows? You never know, man. You never know. You never know. It's the thing. The thing is this: if he's gonna play, he's gonna play. It's how you taking care of yourself on the field. And then this is like you said a couple of shows ago. Hey man, if you get hit, you are coming out of the game. If you take a hit, if you don't slide, you're coming out. Is that type of level of protection going to be in there? Right? Maybe that's what you got to do. But I will say, if you put him out there, the conversation has to have been had to say, take care of yourself. Get rid of the ball, slide, do these things that we have been asking you to do and that you need to do. Like the thing about, like, they were lauding Bo Nix and his ability to not take negative plays and not take sacks and things of that nature. A lot of times, just an incompletion is a win, right? Just throwing the ball away, that's a win. You don't have to go and be Superman every single time. I know that you have the ability to do that, but you don't have to do that. And I think that if Jayden can learn, just like I mentioned, the cadence of the game and the flow of the game, and they talk about how, okay, you don't have to get 17 yards on one play. I got 2 plays to get a little bit, and I can get a little bit here, put ourselves in advantageous situations. Now we can take our shots. When you start, think that way and start to operate that way, you can protect himself a little bit better, make a few better decisions with the football and with this body, really. I mean, we know we can make all the throws, but we don't need you to make all the throws on each, every single time. You need to make the right play, smart play, put the team in the best possible situation to move forward. So that's the coaching I'm hoping that they're giving him. I'm sure they are. And that's the stuff I want to see when he's on the field and he's back out there. Because if we're going to be nervous, damn it, I at least need to know you take care of yourself. And like, okay, the ball's getting out of his hands. He's not trying to scramble. I don't want any of that extra stuff. 2-hand touch, just spike it. I'd rather you intentional grounding, dadgummit. I don't want no sacks, nothing, man.
I'll be sitting there during games just texting you, Anthony, I'm so nervous, please give me positive vibes. I need some, because it's true.
Paper bag and everything, just hyperventilating. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean,
oh God, he got hit again.
It's gonna be nerve-wracking, right? It's gonna be nerve-wracking, but I mean, like I say, we're so protective of the quarterback position because we haven't had anything, a franchise quarterback in a long time. And I mean, I'm seeing Josh Allen lower the shoulder and run people over. You know what I mean? Like, well, that's not fair, right? But that's just how it is. That's just how it is. And I know we'll get out of the season, and next season we're not going to be bubble wrapping our quarterback or bubble wrapping our players. That's not going to be how it's done. But then just to finish this year, yeah, man, let me wrap my dishes up, please. I just need to get moved out. I don't want to nick none of the walls. I need to get my deposit back. That's how I feel about this season. That's how I feel about this season. I love everything we got. We just need to get out of the season. That's it. Let me just get out of the sucker without anything else happening.
Therapy, man. Listen to all of us. We're all so scarred from all this. I will tell you this, though, like, it would be, because again, I do think honestly, I think he's going to play. I don't want him out there, but I know he's going to play in the end. So it will be important that he does have that mindset of, play it safe. And his instincts are not going to be that way. So it's going to be a real test of where he is mentally, understanding. Don't make it about taking hits. Don't make it about that extra yard. Like, that's the only way that this really works. If it's a very low pressure, get the reps, play it safe type of mindset that he has the rest of the season. But like, that's easier said than done. And listen, when Jayden Daniels, before he was even drafted, I mean, let's not forget how much people talked about the hits that he took at LSU and the highlights that, man, I can't tell you how many times I talked about this kid getting drafted in Washington, and people love to send the videos. There's highlight reels of just hit after hit after hit. All the hits that Jayden took at LSU, to the point where he's getting spearheaded like it's a freaking cartoon, and he's turned into a sideways U, and he's just going zhoosh sideways. Like, and I'm like, this is not something I want to see from my quarterback. We saw it less last year, but we've seen it more this year. And that's going to have to be something that is just, that needs to be on his mind as much as just going through his progressions, just being able to identify a blitz or whatever. Like, that needs to be at the top of the list with all of those things if he's going to get out there and he's going to actually play this thing safely to where you can get out of the season healthy, because there's nothing worse than having your quarterback, who's already young, missing time in a regular season, needing to rehab in the offseason. Because look at J.J. McCarthy right now. J.J. McCarthy may never even get a chance to really develop in the quarterback that they think he could be in Minnesota, because he's never healthy. And when you're not healthy, you're rehabbing and you're not fully learning as a young quarterback. And that's a major detriment to any young quarterback in the NFL, not just Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I felt that was, we mentioned, Robert earlier. I think that was one of the things that he was trying to rehab. And I really always wished he would have been able to spend an offseason just playing quarterback. Because when he was healthy and he finished his career throwing the ball around, you saw he was doing a pretty good job. So I wish he would have had that opportunity earlier in the year. And that's the same vibe with Jayden. And I think that when you see how he had success with his legs in his rookie season, and you come into it and trying to kind of replicate that, do some of those same things in those same games, you understand everybody knows that's what you do, right? And it's so detailed when it comes down to like understanding the scouting report of a player, it has bullet point after bullet point about the things that the person likes to do, the tendencies to go this way versus that way. What happens when they roll to their right? What happens when they roll to their left? Here's how you can force him to do this. Here's how you force him to do that. People have the script on them. They have the script on him, so they know that how he's going to try to, attract the rushers and then try to scramble out from there. And people are prepared for that. And so now he just has to be one step ahead of it, right? And it's coming to make better decisions with his eyes, making better decisions with the ball where he throws it. Maybe, like I've said earlier on, maybe you just got to stay with some of your base offense a little bit longer, because there's some throws that were there too. So he'll see that tape. And then, I would love to see him, when he does get out there, show some nice, crisp, solid drive. That would be big. Like if I could say Jayden getting back on the field, if I knew it was going to be a successful outing, it would be if he can put together like a 7, 8, 9, 10 play drive, and just real confident, calm, get down the field, pick the team apart. Don't have to do anything too crazy. Just give me a good drive. I don't need to have SportsCenter highlight reel type stuff on there. Just give me a good drive. Let's go get some points. Give me the confidence, kind of like that third preseason game, right? Hey, give me 2 series and I can get you off. I'm not saying you're going to take him off the field, but I want to see that type of a thing to know, okay, the quarterback is moving in the right direction. I like where he's at.
And that's exactly what I was going to mention. We really didn't see much of him in the preseason either. I know a lot of teams don't play their guys in the preseason, but that's also limited reps that are there. So I get that it's important, but it's a major risk. We all got to deal with it. All right. What to expect the rest of the way, given what we saw post-bye from this Commanders team tonight in Denver? It's Commander Squad. All right, no, they weren't in Denver. I know I said that earlier. No, they weren't in Denver again. It is 1 a.m. on the East Coast, so my brain is completely fried. Vikings coming up next, Anthony, and then it's at the Giants, it's the Eagles, it's the Cowboys, and it's at the Eagles. I mean, that's it. This is, I know, I feel like it's a cliche. In fact, it is a cliche. Every year, every week we look and go, I can't believe it's week 13. I can't believe it's week 14. But man, this season has just felt like it's flown by. But here we are. I mean, we're down to the point where there's one game outside of the division at Minnesota next week. Then you're at the Giants. You've got the Eagles twice and the Cowboys, and that's the rest of this season for this team now.
Man, it happens quick, man. It comes at you fast. I always was amazed when you just look at things week by week. It just flies by. Don't forget we have the whole month of Hard Knocks, NFC East edition.
Yeah.
So for the sake of making that exciting, you're going to see some Jayden Daniels on there. Are you going to be tuned in? That's what I want to know. Are you tuned in? Do you have that streaming? I don't know where you watch it, at HBO, but they got a million
Max,
different
which
ways.
has changed its name 5 times at this point too. Different name. It feels
Is
like
it?
every week.
Are you going to watch?
Yeah, I'll watch it. It's disappointing because I was hoping it would be, when they were going to do the NFC East, you thought, yeah, you'd get everybody and you'd see more of this team and to watch the Commanders last year on this would have been great. But now we're kind of in this point where it's a season that's probably not going to feature as much of them as opposed to you're going to get a lot of Cowboys. Like, let's be honest with ourselves here. What moves the needle still in the NFL, win or lose, it's the Dallas Cowboys. And there's going to be a lot of the Cowboys on the in-season Hard Knocks, NFC East, especially with the wins they've had the last couple of weeks. You're probably going to see a lot of that in there. And, the Eagles and their drama, I think that's going to be a majority of it with probably a little bit of the Giants, but you won't probably have Cam Scatterbo because I don't know how much of the, footage that's him before he got hurt, though he's great. They'll have some content with him there. And then it's going to finally wrap up when it's all done with, Jackson Dart and his craziness. And I think there's going to be far less Commanders on that when, we start seeing a lot more of that. All right. David Harrison's jumping on with us now, staying warm, which is good. You made the smart decision, David, of not being outside on the field, though it looks great. I don't think anybody expected you to sit out there in the freezing cold. We've obviously spent most of the show looking at everything that you wanted David to go out there in the cold.
You just got to do it, man. I can't bubble wrap my co-host.
Nope.
I can't bubble wrap my co-host.
Hey, I'm going to sit up in the press box, Anthony. I'm going to eat my snacks. And I'm going to tell everybody what y'all on the field are doing wrong. That's what I'm going to do.
So what was the mood after the game? I mean, they hung with a Broncos team, David, that they won 8 straight. This was their 9th straight win, but they took them to overtime. They put them in a spot where they could have won that thing and that ball not been batted down, the 2-point conversion. I mean, this definitely was a different Commanders team than what we saw pre-bye week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the vibe in the room. You know what I mean? Competitors never want to sit there and take the silver linings and all those things. I even actually kind of, it inadvertently wasn't really on purpose, but kind of set up Zach Ertz to kind of take the silver lining, and he kind of hesitated. It was like, yeah, you can look at silver linings and all that stuff, but paraphrasing what Zach said, he said, right now I'm only concerned about the plays that I didn't make and what that could have done for our team, and that's the heart of a competitor, right? Like, and this is kind of like the difference, like I said, between like fans and us. And even, Anthony, where you are right now, obviously, but then also the difference between what a competitor is like. A competitor can't lean on those things. A competitor can't embrace those things, but we can embrace them for them, right? And that's I think that's the relationship where you can understand the competitor and be supportive of what the competitor is going through, is understanding and embracing the things that they necessarily can't, because the next battle is right around the corner. If you go into practice, the next day saying, "Oh man, we almost got them, gee darn guys." Well, you're going to almost get them the next week too, right? So that's the difference. Like for me, I'll tell you right now, I feel good. Like I'm proud of those boys. I feel good. And I think, and that's not silver linings. That's not, hunting the good stuff. We just watched nearly 5 quarters of good football. Doesn't mean every play was perfect. Doesn't mean every play was good, but it was good football. It's 2 teams that were very evenly matched up and played good football against each other. And one team won. And the ultimate game of inches. I mean, you're talking the width of Nick Bonito's middle finger to his pinky. That's the difference between a Commander's walk-off win, because that's wide the heck open. It's a walk-off win or a loss. And that is what football is supposed to be. That's what you want football to be. You want a loss for somebody at midnight. You don't want a tie at 12:30. You want a loss for someone at midnight. And unfortunately, sometimes you're going to be the loser in that end. But man, I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of them boys. I feel good. And I'll tell you, I think a lot of Locked On Commanders listeners, when I go live here in about an hour, I don't think they're going to want to hear it. But you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pander to nobody.
Yeah.
Views be damned. I feel good about this team tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Whereas, everybody, like you say, you want to chase those W's, but then half of the Commanders Nation wants to chase some L's. I've always talked about the performance, and you can tell on field, you can tell on film, you can see who's really out there trying to show up and who's checking out for the rest of the season. And I don't think anybody in that locker room has checked out. Even if they are mathematically out of it, they still know they have 4 or 5 football games left to play. Defensively, that was a strong performance we were talking about ad nauseum here on the show. Just what's the energy there and how they've kept that same vibe going with DQ coming back from Spain and Madrid, and they kept the same energy going against Denver.
Man, it's just understanding the grind, you know what I mean, and just embracing your assignment. And I think really, we talk about like simplicity, and we talk about things. I think there's an intuitive part of leadership that I think really some people just have it and some people don't. You know what I mean? You can learn leadership to a certain extent, but there's also a certain extent that you can't learn leadership. Like you just either have it or you don't have it. And I think DQ has the ability that not a lot of coaches have to just kind of understand who his personnel are. You know what I mean? I mean, not for nothing, but like TJ McGurran-Yanga, international pathway players, getting his first NFL action tonight against the AFC West leading Denver Broncos. I know they're mostly defense, right? But this is also an offense. This is a run attack that has been very successful. This is a quarterback we saw it at points with Bo Nix. Like he has the ability to go off script and to make plays. I mean, he threw a touchdown while he's going down in the midst of a sack, right? Like this is a talented team, and you got guys like that, and you got veterans like Bobby Wagner, and everything in between them, and nobody's out of place. Again, like did they give up some plays? Yeah, absolutely, but they also made a lot of plays. And what you have always wanted this entire season is just don't be out of place, be competitive, and that's what you saw. And can we put a nail in this? Mikey Sainristil is an outside corner. Like Mikey Sainristil is an outside cornerback. Like, can we put? I don't know who needs to hear it. Like Mikey Sainristil is an outside cornerback.
Put it on my board. I can put it on my chalkboard if you'd like.
Open up the window in the press box and just like scream it out on the field right now. That might get it across.
I'll make t-shirts, bro.
Sometimes like when you this makes me think of like the Jamin Davis, and I'm not saying Mikey and Jamin are the same or going to go down the same path, but sometimes coaches, they'll envision a player being so much more than what the player really is. And this is not a slight to Mike. This is not a slight to like a Jamin, but like Jamin is a physical specimen. He was a fast, athletic linebacker. He played best when he was playing fast and knew where the hell to go. Ron was trying to make this man think and do all these other things, and it slowed his processing speed down. You think about being in the slot. All right, if you hoop, I'm not even a good hooper, but if you hoop, you understand the triple threat. If you're in the slot, their guy can go that way. He can run past me. He can run this way. I also got to deal with him blocking. I got to deal with people pulling. That's a lot of stuff. You don't generally throw a young player in there. And I know Sainristil is very smart, but he's a young player coming from receiver to go to corner, and he's a willing player. He's willing to do it all. But it takes some time to learn that. So I'm interested to see, since you said that, and I know they're going to listen to Locked On Commanders with David Harrison, and he mentions these things. Next year, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a Sainristil outside. Maybe you got to put a Lattimore on the inside, or, move some things around that way to change some things out to really maximize the player's usage. So, and I loved seeing Mikey Sainristil drop his shoulder on the running back right there. Man. Willing, man. I was like, okay, Mike. Yep. Shoot, I'm gonna woke my damn son up, man. I was in the house yelling, like, come on, Mike. That's what I'm talking about. Low man win.
Something we said all last year. Mikey Sainristil is 5'8". That man plays like he's 6'2". Like I'm telling you right now, like I am like head and shoulders taller than Mikey Sainristil. But all last year, if I had to draw him standing next to me, I'd have drawn him head and shoulders taller than me, just because of the presence he had on the field, the way he plays the game. This year in the slot, we have not seen that from him. We have not seen that physicality. We've not seen that dog in him. Going outside, bro, I mean, you said it, dropping the shoulder, playing physical, throwing dudes around. I mean, this dude straight up just trucked somebody. I made the joke in the press box, and this is not meant in any disrespect whatsoever. So if he hears this, Mikey, trust me, it's not meant that way. I was like, Mikey just stood over that dude and said, this is what it feels like to be big. Like, you know what I mean? But, like, that's how he plays out there. This man plays like he's 6'2", 225, and he's, and he's not. Like, Man, Mikey is an outside corner, but look, Trey Amos, Mikey Sanders still go find you a slot. Marshawn, I love you, dude. You're a dog. Ohio State, OHIO, all that kind of stuff. Good luck to you. I don't know where you're gonna go, but good luck to you in 2026. Go sign Jordan Lewis if he's a free agent. Bring back Noah Igbenogany. Let them battle it out for that slot position. Use those draft picks on some other spots. I think corner, you've got a very good nucleus there with those two guys, and then the slot, you got to figure it out.
I think those are the
They do
answers
have
that
it
you're
figured
looking
out.
for.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, and that's part of like the part when you're rebuilding a team too. It can't just all be free agency and spending money. Like you
Right.
have to be able to develop young guys, and when you start to see those flashes, and really that's the rest of the stretch of the season. We want to see more of that. So I think that's a great point. I think this is an opportunity where if they don't have to use draft picks on, at least early draft picks on anything in the secondary, and you can go out and address some of the extra gaps that you have, and it's in free agency, and then you can address pass rush and a million of the other things they have to do. That's a good spot to be in. We know at least Terry McLaurin makes a difference in this offense, David. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that wasn't incredibly happy with what we saw from him, though. The texts that we were exchanging back and forth during the game for a while was like, where is Terry? And then all of a sudden, the fourth quarter, overtime, he really blows up.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of, did you hear anything about like a snap count, or like, was there a point where they were kind of giving him just more of a breather on the sidelines? Because it did seem like he was non-existent for a little while. And again, only 2 targets in the first half when he was out there. And then late in the game, it was just all Terry.
Yeah, he was in and out, and I think there was always kind of an element of, decoy to it a little bit. And even Terry himself, during the week when he talked to us, he even said, he feels good. He hit, 21 miles per hour, doesn't feel the tightness, all that kind of stuff. But then he also said, we're going to listen to the medical team, and we're going to let them kind of figure out what the workload needs to look like and all those things. And, I don't know what those conversations on the sideline look like. It's actually a really good question. Maybe tomorrow, the WSA 9 1-on-1 with Dan Quinn that we do, maybe that would be a good time to bring that up, because I do think, and you'll have to verify on the tape, but I do feel like he had more reps as the game got going. And perhaps that's just, let's start it slow. Let's get you a rep here and there. Let's get you in there. And then as the game goes on, like, how does it feel? Are you needing to heat it? Are you needing to rub it? What are you needing to do? And it's like, at the same time, like when the winning time moments come, like number 17 is going to look at Doc and say, hey, look, Doc, I appreciate you. I got you. But like, we Theragun this thing after the game. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna put it down for my guys, right? And I think that there's probably an element of it that is that as well. And you're a veteran. You're not a second-year player. You're a veteran who's done this. You're a 30-year-old man, right? So I think there's probably a combination of things. But I think it's a really good question to talk to like DQ about, because I don't know that there was like a specific limit. I think it's just more so like communicating, keeping up with it, and making sure that you're doing what's best for Terry. Because at the end of the day, like, I mean, this man's only played 5 games now, including this one. And just the presence of him on the field versus not being on the field is just night and day for this offense.
Definitely opened up, opened things up. I mean, you're looking at Ertz had 13 targets and over 100 yards, and it just looked like a totally different offense. I thought they looked more creative. It just made me feel like, damn, just because you didn't have 17, you left that whole section of the playbook up on the shelf. Like, come on, bruh. You got to call it, but it is what it is. Defenses may not treat it the same. I did see, this is just one guy I didn't see get any action, and I wasn't sure if he was inactive or not. Was that Ben Sinnott? Was he inactive today?
No, he wasn't.
Felt that way. Felt that way. A couple of missed blocks. I know that.
Yeah, Ben is he's a topic. He's a topic of conversation.
Having a tough finisher to see. I'll say this because you know me. I'm a silver lining guy. Positivity. You better figure it out. You got 4 games. Just put some good stuff on tape. That's it. Put some good stuff on tape. Stack some good games. Stack some good days, and let the rest take care of itself from there. I saw Yankov get a catch.
Yep.
And I said, uh-oh.
Taysom Hill light. That's what I'm gonna start calling him. Taysom Hill. Maybe Taysom Hill curly. He got curly hair. Taysom Hill curly.
Okay.
That's what they need to make him. Like, look, I know Cliff Kingsbury doesn't listen to Locked On Commanders, but if you know Cliff and you listen to Locked On Commanders, Taysom Hill. That's the pattern. That's the path that man needs to take. Colson Yankov.
Hey, the Texans have them. They have a Cade Stover doing this like tush push thing. They call it something. So, and then Seattle has a tush push with the Barner. They call it the barnyard.
Yep.
We could call it the yank off. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Let him push it. So.
Careful.
The name,
Careful what you're
the
saying.
name.
Careful.
Hey, nah. Hey, look, this football.
It's after hours, baby. It's 1 o'clock in the morning on the
You're
East
trying to
Coast.
make people uncomfortable. That's
Sheesh, it's late out here, man.
Calling a
Quiet
play a
storm.
yank off. You don't know where that's going to take you. Where are we going to be going the rest of the season, David? We've kind of given where I think Anthony and I kind of looks. This team's 3-9. I don't really feel like a lot's changed in terms of see the young guys and try to finish the season strong. But there is still the Jayden Daniels cloud hanging over this team. And when he's back and healthy, I don't want him to. I haven't changed. Anthony's starting to waver a little bit, but I do think they're going to play him at least the last couple of games of the season.
Oh, he's playing. I think he's playing against Minnesota. I could be wrong, right? But I think he's playing against Minnesota. I'll tell you this. I was having this conversation today. If he doesn't play in Minnesota, don't bring him back for his first game back at MetLife on that turf.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
If he doesn't play in Minnesota, in fact, play him in Minnesota, and this isn't going to happen. Play him in Minnesota, sit him against the Giants, bring him back for Philly. Like, and I say this tongue in cheek, but I'm actually kind of serious. If I were the head coach of this team, I'd be like, anytime we go to MetLife, once a year for the Giants, maybe twice in 1 year if we play at the Jets as well. Backup quarterback, you're the starter that week. Bottom, I don't care, and I'm sorry for you, but that's just what it's going to be. That's just what it's going to be. Deal with it. But anyway, no, I mean Jayden's going to play this year, whether it's next week or whether it's New York or Philly or when it comes. But Jayden's going to play this year again, and it's. And I stick by just kind of what I've said, right? Like it's got to happen. The competitive nature of it, not just that, but also the development of it, and all the things. It's funny, man, because I've said a lot of times, like I hope that Jayden's kind of watching Marcus and learning some of the things from Marcus. But there's times tonight where I'm like, Marcus, bro, get down, dude, stop taking all these hits. And no shade to Josh Johnson. Like I covered Josh Johnson when he was in Tampa. Like I think the dude's got talent as well. But like. When you're a backup, I don't care if you're the second backup, the first backup, Sam Hartman, like whoever, like Tavita Pritchard with pads back on, like I don't want to see you on the field. Like that's just the bottom line. You know what I mean? But no, Jayden's gonna get out there, and we got to see because I was actually having a conversation with the Commanders fan recently, and they were saying that they feel like Jayden has actually taken strides to try to protect himself more, and just at the same time, like in scoring position in those game winning time moments that Dan Quinn calls them. Every competitor puts it on the line more, right? Running backs run into the pile harder. Guys will try to do flips over safeties harder. Like nobody hurdles at your own 15, Anthony. Like nobody hurdles the guy at the minus 15, right? You hurdle at the plus 15. You don't hurdle at the minus 15. That's crazy, unless you're Antonio Brown. But
that was a drop kick, I thought, wasn't it?
That was a drop kick. All of those, every competitor, it doesn't matter. Tristan Wirfs scored a touchdown today. I guarantee you Tristan Wirfs went harder on that rep than any other rep in the game. When you're in those opportunities, the competitive blood takes over. So there is an element of that. But I do agree with that fan where I do think that Jayden, in the times we've been able to see him this year healthy, I think he has taken more strides to try to be smarter. But like we want him to go from being this like reckless, put it all on the line at the minus 15 guy to just being super smart and always makes the right decision for his body. That's not realistic. So you got to take the steps and to be appreciative of them. And you also got to praise him for them because, I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship where like you need to work on something in that relationship and you like make this incremental, improvement and that person goes, okay, where's the rest of it? Like you eventually stop working on it. You know what I'm saying? So you got to appreciate the little steps that you see from Jayden. But yeah, we're going to see Jayden on the field. Like I said, hopefully not at MetLife, but hopefully next week and then 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Stay away from MetLife as much as you possibly can. I think we all can agree with that. All right, David still got Locked On Commanders. Make sure you check that out if you're watching us live now. Otherwise, if you're watching or listening the next day, it's already up. So you also can watch and listen to that. That's the beauty of it. All right, we are going to be back midweek all together looking ahead at the game at the Vikings, whether or not Jayden Daniels plays. We may have more information when we do that show. This is there's Jayden. A little
Jayden, are you
playing
playing next week? Are you playing next week?
He says, "Oh, you have to listen to Commander Squad on Wednesday, and I'll tell you."
I'm trying to
then."
make
That's
him
what it
nod
said,
yes,
so.
but I don't have the
Yeah,
camera
there you go.
skills. That's
It's
him
kind of
nodding.
giving
Looks
me
more
one
like
of
he's
these.
shaking his
like,
head. Yeah.
6-7%.
This is
I
the
don't
kind
know.
of So we'll know as the week goes on. That's as far as we can go, and we play the Jayden watch as we've done throughout the entire season. We'll talk to you then. It's Commander Squad.